Om Shanti. This is a video of overcoming fear, something that's very close to my heart, very dear to my heart, because I can remember from early childhood there was always the fear factor going on, in the sense of if it wasn't one thing, it was something else, whether it be to do with going to school, or the bullies at school, or fear of failure, fear of not passing. A lot goes on in the school time. I think fear of not coming up to scratch, fear of not coming up to the mark, which is also true in relationships as well, the fear of not being good enough. And then there's also the fear of heights, fear of open spaces, fear of enclosed spaces, fear of drowning, fear of suffocation. But you'll notice all these things have a common denominator. Basically, I don't mean the word fear, but the of something. And this is the interesting aspect of fear, because fear is false evidence appearing real, which is FEAR. And of course, when you've got this fear of something, we believe that to be the evidence that we have fear of that thing. So if there's a fear of spiders, for example, a person will believe that by taking the spider in the hand and not showing fear of it and overcoming the fear, facing your fears, as they say, feel the fear and do it anyway. And in reality, this isn't really changing the actual relationship of overcoming fear. It's overcoming the fear of something. So this was always the problem, is that the fear lies in the subconscious mind, and it's programmed in there because people basically live in a state of loss while they try to achieve more and more. So when a person is actually dealing with their traumas, they might get hypnotically regressed, taken back into the fear that they experienced of a child, and drag it forward into the present. And the point is really is that if fear is still bigger than you, whatever happens of the external, if you believe the fear to be bigger than you, then it will always remain bigger than you. But once you experience yourself to be bigger than it and creating our fear, then we start to process everything in a different way. Like one lady, she forced her child into swimming into the water because he'd never been in the water before, and he was carrying a trauma with him of water, fear of water. And in actual fact, there's been a lot of drownings in floods in what would have been that soul's past life. So we take it from the point of view of the soul, which is the true self, which accumulates this fear as time goes on. And of course, you do have to face your fear and do it anyway, because otherwise it's going to corner you. And when it corners you, it just gives you a stronger belief that it's more powerful than the I, the true I. So we've got this representation of fear, which isn't really fear, but it's a bad experience. You can understand that some souls would have a fall from a great height and have a fear of heights in their next life. or they'd be drowned in water and have a fear of water in their next life. But the fact is that the fear was still there. It just manifested according to the situation and that moment in time. And of course, when you get people that take them back to past lives and bring all that trauma forward, see, all you have really is the present. So when you drag things of the past into the present, it's just making the person realise that that's the reason why they had fear of something rather than the fear that's not being dealt with. The fear of something is being dealt with, but still in your belief system you would create fear, because you would believe that thing to still be stronger than you are. And if it happens again, there would be the fear of it happening again. And it's just like people that get into debt. When they actually get into debt and they get out of debt, because of their relationship with money is security. Of course, we need money to pay our bills and everything, but we are just using an energy called money. Money comes, money goes. It's meant to do that. If it goes for a longer period of time, no fear of it, more faith in that it's just an energy, more belief that it's an energy, and it will come back. Like they say, leave them alone and they'll come home wagging their tails behind us. It's also true of when you actually allow things, not try to hold on to things which create fear. When a person is frightened of losing something, they hold on to it more and more, and the fear then increases in the self, the subconscious programming, and in actual fact nothing is more powerful than you as a being, as a soul. So you let go rather than hold on, and you practice letting go, because the way to massage fear away is to actually experience this letting go and being more appreciative of what's around me, what's inside of me in particular, will bring back a fear-less state. And we don't want just a fear-less state, we want it so that the feeling of fear dissipates altogether. So you get this, the way people are brought up and the way people live is that as soon as a child gets security from its toys, then because it's creating a security from the fear that's already there, nothing wrong with giving a child toys, that's part of their process of growing up. And but when the actual things are being appreciated, more and more becomes better in their belief system, then they'll have toys that have a deep meaning to them, that give them so much joy, becomes part of their identity. And so if those are taken away, then I remember someone was bringing up a couple of dogs once, and I know children aren't dogs, but they were bringing up a couple of dogs, and they would give the dog the toy, and then they would leave it with them for a while when they were particularly possessive of the ownership of the toys. In other words, that became a part of the animal's identity or terrain. And so they would take the toy away from them and give it to the other dog. And the other dog looked a bit upset, but this was his master's voice. And so he actually was forced to accept that it's not mine all the time, and then he'd give it from one dog to the other. And they learned to interact in a better way rather than a controlling fashion, because one who tries to control has fear of another person controlling them, and they feel controlled by their own ego. So therefore you get these situations where people fall in love and they become possessive of one another, and even if that person looks at someone else, then they're believing them to be going wayward, going astray. The fear of their own security, the services that that person's providing for their partner is what they become dependent on, when there's no need to become dependent on any services that come your way, because it's your good fortune or good karma of being a giving person in your past. So people have come to give back to you, and if it doesn't come from one source, it will come from another, because you've earned that. So always to keep giving and never become miserly is a very good way. People that are very much takers and getters and always feel like they're missing out of the things they could have got are living in a state of loss. So the arrogance is a form of fear, because it's a form of insecurity. So the male chauvinist pig, which now the females are developing, the female chauvinistic piggy-like state, where they're actually trying to control because they're in fear of losing. So they take, instead of remaining feminine and keeping that nurturing, loving state of giving, they tend to gravitate towards the masculine side of negativity. So there's a female side of negativity and a masculine side of negativity. The male side of negativity is the lust, the greed, the ego, and the female side of the negativity is attachment, imagination, and living in fear of losing, basically. So we've got these, one's not, they are learning from each other, but they're learning in the wrong way. So they either swing from one side to the other, instead of becoming independent and having more faith in what you're putting out is going to come back, and everything of the external is just the energy. You own nothing. You're just a trustee, and any kind of an ownership would become part of your identity, and you might live in the fear of loss of that security it's given you. It's not actually giving you security, because you are secure, but it's actually false evidence appearing real. In other words, it seems to be giving you security. It can be a relationship, it can be a diamond ring, it can be your favourite pen, it can be your car, it can be your money. All these things are false evidence appearing real. So they appear to be giving security, but they're not. The body's another one, isn't it? The body feels like it's giving me security because I'm healthy, but there's a difference between health of the mind and health of the body. So I'm the mind, not the body. The mind is a spiritual part of me, an organ of thought. It has nothing to do with the brain. But when the mind, supposed to be mind over matter, when the mind feels a security from the body, it might be its beauty, it might be our abilities, our achievements and our attainments, and all those, if they are taken away, or if you believe for a short period of time you're not capable of doing that anymore, then you've lost who you are to who you're not or what you do. So who you are gets lost to what you know about your role or what you do in your role. None of these things are who you are as an eternal, immortal being that is just a trustee. So these things around me are being used by me. They've arrived in my presence and they come and they go. People come and they go, but none of that will become a fearless state without the process of who I am, because I would still be getting tied up in what I own is what I am, or what I do is who I am, or what I am. And I remember doing a meditation commentary, Mind, Body and Spirit festival, and we were talking in meditation about being the eternal soul separate to the body. And then all of a sudden this man stood up and he said, oh my God, he said, I just experienced myself to be the eternal being, light. And I questioned him on it after, actually. I said to him, did you also feel that you were a visitor to the body at the same time? And he said, no, I just experienced this wonderful separation, and that the peace was my own, the joy was my own, the love, the stability, the stillness, that was me, that was what I own, that's what I am. And I said, well, you'll also experience yourself to be a visitor to this world of matter, to this body, that naked, coming naked means not coming naked as a body, but coming naked as a soul into a name and form, and you're not your name and form. That breeds fear, because once that becomes part of the identity, then other people that I own, which I use the word my children, my mother, my father, my land, my home, my job, all these are things that are meant to be around me, but who I am mustn't be lost to who I believe I own, because that belief system will make me live in loss. And I said to him, another thing that you'll experience is being a trustee of matter. I said, if you process being the eternal, infinitesimal, subtle being of light in the jewel box, the diamond in the box, the body is the box, it's only decoration, but the most important thing is the diamond inside the box, which is who you are and what you are. And I said, you'll experience yourself to be a trustee of the body, and that you will leave this body when you're meant to leave this body. The time of the body will run out. The time of everyone else's body does run out, but the persona, the personality and the presence doesn't die. This all creates fear when people believe the personality dies with the body, because they live in loss, and living in loss is creating fear, which goes into the subconscious, and then when something happens of a traumatic experience like drowning, if the soul was aware of itself, it would only be feeling it's losing the body. Because also, when you think about it, we're in a lot of fluid when we're in the womb. When the soul comes into the womb, It's either so I'm sitting in all that fluid, and yet we've got some form of oxygen coming to us to keep us alive, and the nutrients from our mother at that time, and we're in a lot of fluid at that time. That would be really traumatic to a person that believes they're dying. And death is only because of the concept of the body. You know, you think about your birthday, it's a countdown to death, because you're counting down the years you've got left, because you're always 4 years old, you're never 4 years young, then you're 5 years old, and most of the time people want themselves to be a different age. And I remember when we were 7 or 8, we always wanted to be 10. I remember as a child, and when 2 boys came along on their bikes, they beat me up because I was old enough to be beaten up, because I said I was 10, because me and my friend always wanted to be 10. So we got beaten up, or I got beaten up, he watched, because I said that I was 10 and I was only 7 or 8, and they would have left me alone if I'd told them the truth. But we always want to be older or younger. So this is the eternal soul, the eternal soul, that says I want to be younger or older. Having birthdays, fine. If you want to celebrate, why not celebrate everyday life? When you ask what someone does for a living, they should say, I live. But what do they say? I do this occupation, I'm an engineer. That isn't what you do for a living. What you do for a living is be yourself, enjoy yourself. And I think this, the main problem comes from, because there's a lack of self-worth or self-respect in every single soul on the planet that's body conscious, whether it be playing the male role in a form, they show their insecurity through their ego, trying to make people believe in them, which is not self-respect, it's not true self-confidence, because they can always be brought down to their knees if traumatic things happen in their life, because that's the way they process life. I put it out there, that means I'm going to be influenced by out there. It means I'm getting it from the display I put on. So although you get this swagger in a person, I've seen the most secure men become the most insecure men when they lose something, and they can't blame anyone, they can't criticise anyone, they can't get their soapbox out, and you'll find that all anger, all ego is fear-based, is that people are trying to hide their insecurities through either one or the other, playing the victim and feeling the strength of playing the victim, or playing the victor, where we want to rub other people's noses in the sand and prove that we're better than them, that we know better than them. This is nothing to do with who you are. It's all about who you're not, and creating fear. So that fear goes in the subconscious. People believe that things in life are bigger than them, and I hope this doesn't happen. That hope is fear-based as well. Hope is something that you make something happen through your hope. Your hope is your best wishes towards something should happen, and if it happens, it's because of a positive energy that's affecting it. If it doesn't happen, then it's creating something else to happen for later, but it never goes a loss. But the hope that's based on fear is living in fear. I hope this one doesn't leave me. What will I become if all my jewellery gets taken? What happens if I've got no money? What happens if I've got no home? And yet these things aren't happening until they happen. And yet the person that lives in fear is making them happen. Can you believe that? They're actually making all the things disappear by their belief system, their fear-based belief of hoping that these things don't happen. So where the lack of self-respect is because people do have peace, but they also have peacelessness. So you still, when you've experienced peace, it's not the external that makes you have that experience of peace. It's your own divine quality, your own beauty. When you've loved someone, that proves that love is there. That's a divine quality. Cooperation. You've been cooperative to others. You might feel you're not always fully cooperative, but that's not the issue here. We're looking at what is. Cooperation is there. Peace is there. Even if you're impatient, you've had times when you're more patient, more tolerant. Even if you've tolerated some, but not others, you have tolerance. So we're talking about focusing on the qualities that are in you as a soul. They're eternal commodities. And when you are aware of them and get away from the belief system that I shouldn't be peaceless, I shouldn't be angry, all these things, you're not really getting it. You've got to understand it from the point of view of those things are evident there. They've proved themselves time and time again. So love is there. I've just got to start to enjoy those qualities and those commodities in the present moment to make this a magic moment. The present is just a moment. It's the moment in which you exist. But to make it a magic moment, it means you're aware of your beauty, your qualities. So even if you're remembering God, or we use the word Baba, you'd be aware that what you're remembering is His qualities and your qualities being the same. So His qualities are full. That's why we say, remember Baba, forget everything else and just remember Baba, remember God, because the mind will go to that source and it's affecting your source point. Take away the belief system that you don't feel they're full and let go of the thought of that. Have faith that that thought no longer exists. Have faith that the anger no longer exists, and you become very, very much surrounded and shrouded in this force field of love, because that's your innate qualities. The fact that they're there is all that matters. It doesn't matter that they're not full. Forget that they're not full, and you'll become full and less of a fool, if you don't mind me saying so. So this is the overcoming fear, and it's the way you live that is creating the fear, and then that manifests as the fear of something. So when you realise that you're God's child, you have the same qualities as God, and you start to become more aware of your qualities. Write down any virtues that you can think of when the video is finished. Write down all the qualities that you can think of, and that's who you are. And the more aware of who you are, the more those things start to work for you. When you don't believe that they're full, they work against you, or they don't work at all. So you're not actually trying to become cooperative with anyone, you're just realising what's in the aspect of love is a cooperative experience, a cooperative feeling. It's something that is cooperating with your own mind, and your mind is cooperating with it. All the qualities work like that. If you've been miserly in the past, it doesn't mean you're not a generous soul. It means that you were trying to preserve your security, or what you believe to be security. Now you know it's not security, you can let go of that miserly feeling that's made a person so miserable, because all miserly affects to make them miserable. So don't hold back, give your all, experience your all, and become fearless. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Nothing is bigger than you, not your past. Any bad experiences that happened are not as powerful as the moment being made into a magic moment. So Om Shanti will finish with the meditation. Thank you for your patience. I realise that I have peace, patience, tolerance and love inside of me. And those qualities have proved themselves time and time again. No matter how peaceless this world becomes, they will always prove themselves time and time again. They are the structure of my innate goodness, my innate kindness, my innate love. I am love. I am loving. I am lovable. I am filling my own stock of love with my own stock of love. The love that I hold is becoming full as I become more appreciative and aware of what it and I am, and my love. I feel my love like a flower opening in full bloom, letting go of the fears, letting go of the worries and the stress. The body can be taken away. People will come, people will go. Properties, they have arrived, they will come, they will go. I watch the carousel of life pass around me, but I am not on the carousel of life, because I am living in my eternal form of being the wonder of all qualities, all divine virtues, all powers. I don't mind that they're not full, because not minding will make them full, because while I am not minding, I am also not worrying. I am a guest to this body, an incarnation of light, and that light itself is an incarnation of love. I love is my love. Om Shanti.